So your first million live happened. It happened, y'all. We took over LA Live. You all showed up, you showed out. There were 2,000 people who came in from all over the world. It was really, really fun, informative. There were a lot of connections made. If you were there, you know. I want to break down a few things in case you're wondering kind of what was happening behind the scenes, what I thought of different things, if I would do it again, etc. So first of all, the reason that I even wanted to do this event to begin with is because I wanted to convene current and future millionaires in the same space. I wanted people to meet each other, to get information, resources, tools, inspiration, but I wanted people to also act, to implement as soon as possible so that they could change their careers, their companies, and maybe even their lives. This was a bold, big, audacious goal, but it was something that I knew was attainable, and I wanted to go for it. And as you may know, I am not afraid to fail, quote unquote, in public. I go for moonshot ideas, and I'm not afraid to have some things go wrong or not work out the way I thought they would. So I had this big goal to bring a lot of people together, and the reason I wanted it to be like a large scale event is because I have done smaller events, and I wanted to do something that put your first million on the map. So I thought, my reasoning was that if I'm going to do this, and this is not my full-time day job, why would I start so small that it was only incremental change over time? That was just my personal opinion and belief, was that I wanted it to be put on the map. I wanted people to talk about it all over the world, to feel like this is a series of events they have to attend year after year. I also wanted to attract some incredible speakers and appearances. So we did just that, right? The idea, though, was to be this big, spectacular event. And the risk that I took in that was like, there was a multitude of risk. There was super expensive. It's on the more expensive side. Also, what if I get halfway there and I really cannot make it happen the way that I want to? Or what if I put on this big event and only a few people show up? I even stacked the deck higher so that it could fall. The venue was the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, where the Emmys are held. The frickin' Emmys. So it's this theater that holds 7,100 people. I knew that if we closed the mezzanine and the loge, it would hold about 4,300. So I knew that it didn't need to be full for it to be impressive and to be comfortable and to be exciting to be at the Peacock Theater. That's the kind of vibe I was going for. So my big takeaway before we get into more details is that it was all about the people attending.
My name is Kiana James. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I came to make my next millions.
We had some fantastic speakers. We had people who I have admired for years on that stage. It was exciting. But I have to tell you, the attendees, that is what I keep hearing about over and over. That's what I experienced too. It was this idea of the people we were able to put in the same room. There was just something special and magical about it. And there was, you know what, I heard so many people say, I've never been in a more welcoming conference. I've never felt that at home at a large conference setting.
Here because I just wanted to see this energy. I'm an investor, I retired early, and I was just curious to know what this space was all about. And it has met all of my expectations. It's been great people, great energy, great perspective. And I'm excited to be here and excited to continue on this journey of being a part of Arlan's Academy.
And hey, that event app was popping off even before we landed, right? The event app, you know what I'm talking about. It was going off. Let me tell you what happened. the night of day one. At night, I'm in the hotel room and I'm trying to go to sleep because I have to wake up so early the next morning and I have so much to do for day two. But I can't go to sleep because I'm looking at your posts. I'm looking at the reposts of the attendees. They were so beautiful. They were filled with joy. I think that's another key word for this event is joy. That is what I saw in people. It's been weeks since the event and we're still receiving posts from like recaps and people talking about the people they met and the takeaways, and it's just incredible. I know a lot of people made deals on the spot, got customers on the spot, got collaborators, found their partnerships. All of these things were what I was hoping for. So day one was early registration. I had a book signing and we had a few other things that kind of happened, more book signings from other people. But when I first got there, when I first got to the JW Marriott ballroom area, I was with my family and we walked in and this is the first time I was going to see what this event was. Were there people there? I literally kept saying, are there people here? Because I could see, the data, I could see people registering, but you never know like who's going to actually show up. And when we walked in and I could see the lines of people on early registration day, I was just like overcome with emotion and pride and a gratitude. Just incredible wave hit me. And so instead of walking directly to my book signing, which I was supposed to do, I just went to every human being I could find in the lines and I thanked them and I said hi to them and I surprised them and I took pictures with them. I did everything I possibly could to let people know that I appreciated them being there. So then I did book signing, we had a reception. Another cool thing is that Levi's, one of our amazing sponsors, had 100 free jackets and they customized them. So they put the Your First Million on the back, and they also gave the speakers that same kind of thing, except ours have our name on them, our first name. So I have one that says Arlan. That was happening on day one during registration. So people were like, they heard about that and that was the hot ticket. Let me get in that line and try to get that jacket. So now if you have one of those 100 jackets, you're the cool kid. And I just want to thank Levi's. I mean, they're not paying me to say this right now. I just want to thank them. I think that they came through. They were so easy to work with. They were so engaging, and they had this really great vision for what this could be. It was all their idea. And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. They even gave me purple buttons because they just like know my brand so well. So shout out to Levi's. There's a good reason that Beyonce put that word in her album. Go get you some Levi's. These jackets fit everybody I saw so perfectly well, including me. It's my brother, Rook. He was with me through everything, and so he has to be here today. Thank you. Thank you. Day two was where we moved over to the Peacock Theater. And that, if you think about like a little bit of anxiety of, are people going to show to that? So the answer is yes. People showed up to the 4-hour Arlan's Academy that we started from 12 to 4. The speakers at Arlan's Academy killed it, even with technical difficulties, because we had issues backstage with, there was no clicker and there was no timer to tell the people how long they had to speak, and there was no clicker to go to slide, so they had to say slide, and then a human had to do it. This is where I should tell you this part. Kind of early in the day, I had my microphone and I had, introduced myself, and it was really cool, and I looked out in the audience and it was great, and I was almost crying, but I didn't cry. And I get up to leave the stage for someone else to start, and something went haywire with sound. And I had the loudest, and this is not hyperbole, I had the loudest feedback that I'd ever heard. These giant speakers are right in front of me, and something went wrong. And it felt like a bomb had gone off, what I would imagine. And I couldn't hear. My sound, like the hearing went to like 50% immediately. So I was just like, ah. So I went off stage. They had the EMT come see me because I was like, I can't hear very well. And I was just kind of freaking out. EMT comes over, two of them, they're checking me for my vitals and my hearing and all my eyes and everything. They want to take me to the hospital, but I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital because I kind of have this thing I'm doing. My wife leaves the crowd, comes behind the scenes, comes backstage, and she kind of kneels in front of me and she's like looking at me, and she finally tells me something that I think helped fix everything, which is she said, you are in shock right now. That's why things feel weird to you. And it really grounded me in that moment, and it made me less scared because I was terrified. I was so scared. And the whole event was happening behind me, literally steps away on stage. The event was happening while this was happening backstage. So this was like, I was like, am I going to be able to continue? Will I be able to hear again? What's going to happen? We never planned for this because this is, of course, is not something you plan for or expect. What ended up happening is while I still was at like a 50 to 60% on the hearing, I could tell that the slides were there was some problem with the slides. So I'm like, I'm gonna Arlan, right? So I got up and I ran over to where the person handling the slides was, and I said, can I do the slides? Can you teach me how to do the slides? And it's this whole apparatus and this whole thing that you have to kind of quickly learn. So they taught me how to do it. So I'm barely able to hear. I'm probably still in shock. The event is happening and I'm over here clicking slide, waiting for slide. So when Miss Skittles was on, about halfway through, I started doing her slides. So then I thought, well, I could just do this for the whole Arlan's Academy, and I know these speakers, I can do this part. Then I thought, let me not. Let me not, because I have so much else going on. Let me try to trust this process that things will get better and that people will understand, and especially our speakers, letting them know that things were not going to plan. They were so gracious, by the way. Obviously, just amazing people who pulled off an incredible event. And so I just kind of, after 10 minutes, I just stopped. Things were figured out, some things were not, it kind of worked itself out, and then we moved on. But you did not know that was happening behind the scenes. I promise you didn't know that. Anyway, let's keep going. Then at 1, there was a backstage recap and backstage catalyst. So the apprenticeship program, we had our graduation on stage. So that was really cool. And then we had the big announcement about Yacht Water. We took a break, and then DJ Active came on. DJ Active has worked with Patti LaBelle. He is Janet Jackson's touring DJ, etc. He was out there. And that's when people started really letting loose. I really love that moment. And then we had Humble come out, and Humble goes out there with Bridget, and they just have the most compelling conversation. Two people who I'm so happy they were together because they represent similar things to me. They're both so kind and insightful, and they want you to win, and they gave that to us. And then Issa Rae. So Issa Rae came through for us. Listen, let me tell you what happened behind the scenes. So we're walking out to go do our fireside, and a few days prior to it, in the contract it says, you need to send the questions that you're going to ask. Well, I don't really do that, so I don't prep questions. I just have a conversation in my podcasts, other types of interviews in person. So I sent some questions that Mr. ChatGPT put together. I sent those off. I changed them a little bit, and I took some care. But I knew that I was probably not going to get to those questions. So as we were walking out, I say to Issa, I sent some questions, but I'm not going to ask any of those questions. And it's without missing a beat, she goes, I didn't even read them, so I don't even know what they were. And we went out there and we just went out and did our thing. And it was so fun, and it felt so natural, and it felt like that too I could do all day. I feel like I could have done, these interviews. I did most of the interviews day 2 and 3. What you don't know is that day 1 and 2, I also interviewed 10 people for a special series. The only reason I was able to do that is because I truly enjoy interviewing people. And so I want to see if I can make that more of my career. What do you think? You tell me in the comments if you think I should do more interviewing, if you like that style. There are a lot of interviews from Your First Million from 2023 that are available on this channel. And then there are those, for the past 5 years on my podcast. I'd love to continue doing that. So then that was amazing. Issa was amazing. I'm just so grateful to her for being so fantastic and helpful. I told her, and I told most people, I want to ask you questions that you don't normally get asked, because we can Google most of this. I want to ask the questions that most people don't get to ask you. And so it was very special. The next day was day 3. Kicked off at 9 a.m. with Janelle James. She came in super professional, obviously. Like, I don't have to tell you that. She's an Emmy-nominated actor, stand-up comedian, just top of her game. But let me tell you a little behind the scenes of that. She came in and she actually wrote her whole bit backstage. And it wasn't like she did it because she wasn't prepared. It was more like she wanted to be very fresh with her take on things. So she wanted to talk about stuff that just happened, that was happening right in that moment. So she had this funny bit. I won't get too much into it, but she was saying some nice things about me, and she said that she had a hotel. She's like, I didn't know what this was until I saw the size of my hotel room. It has 2 bathrooms, and she started talking about that. And then she kept calling us all poor. And I'm thinking about it, makes me laugh today, because it was exactly what I hoped from her as a host. I wanted her to bring that, irreverent take on things, and I wanted her to really curate it for our audience. Then we just had incredible speaker after incredible speaker after incredible fireside. Rachel Rogers, Dean Forbes, Mrs. Sheila Johnson, who Rachel interviewed, and Sunira, and just so many other people, right? We also had the truck that I bought from Janet Jackson on stage.
Ooh, Gary, look behind you.
I see it.
Do you know what that is?
It's a fresh little whip. That's what it is.
I bought that from Janet Jackson.
No, you didn't.
I literally did.
So that was an idea that I had a few months ago. Could we possibly have the actual truck that I went from 10 years ago being homeless to acquiring this truck at a Beverly Hills auction? I don't know many things that tell my story better than that truck. Could we possibly have it on stage with me for this event? And we made it happen. Now, speaking of that, I just want to shout out the team. The team is a lot of people. My team at Arlan was here. Then we had Delete the Divide in the building. They're from the LA County program that helps Black and brown youngsters get into tech and get into careers that are just amazing. They were there, really holding it down. We had my family was working the whole time. We had some of my friends were working. Then we had the Montgomery group. Then there was Yuji and his team all on stage with us. There were just, so many great people. There were volunteers. Now, let me step back. To close out what had already been 3 of the most magnificent, incredible, memorable days of my entire life, all of my teenage dreams, all of my young Black woman dreams came true when the legendary TLC, yes, that TLC, performed to close out the event. So my friend Janine, who you can find on Instagram, she's on a world tour. She's an incredible pop R&B artist. She opened for TLC on this event. It's the largest stage she's been on, and she killed it. And then TLC performed, and it was a moment. Let me tell you what happened behind the scenes, right? So they were about to perform, and I looked into the audience, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. I'm like, this audience that's not everybody here. What is going on? This is TLC. I know we had more people in this audience. So I rush backstage to my dressing room. I jump on my laptop and I start typing out an email to the attendees. And I'm like, you gotta get here, they're starting, this is when they're here. Because I didn't know if people didn't know what time they were performing or what, because it was just light to me. So I'm starting to type the email. And once again, my wife, Anna, appears. She puts her hand on my leg. It's very soft-spoken, She said, Arlan. And I said, yes. And she said, look up. And I looked up, and on the screen in the backstage area in every room, there is a TV feed of what's happening on stage with sound. She said, look up. And I looked up and I saw T-Boz and Chili singing on stage at the Your First Million Live event that I had just put on. And I was like, oh. And it wasn't that I didn't know they were on stage, it was that I was so fixated on the work and the moment that she did not want me to miss this moment in my life that would never happen again. So I looked up and I saw it and it hit me and I was like, whew, I'm so glad she said that. Wow. So I wrote the email real fast, I sent it out. About 10 minutes later, the place was packed and everybody just felt like they had a private TLC concert. And that's how they should feel. At the end of the show, T-Boz did a shout out to me. She said she thanked me for being there. I'm gonna keep that clip of her and play it on repeat. It's gonna be my ringtone. It's gonna be my resume. That happened. They had dancers, they had a full band, they had a DJ. It was so incredible, so great. The event was really spectacular. There were some things that didn't go as planned, but overall, honestly, let me just give you straight up honest. I could not have dreamed of a better outcome for this event at this time. For this to be year one, for us to have the front banner of the Peacock Theater with our speakers on that banner, to have the number of people who came through, the quality of conversation and connection and fellowship, to have the speaker experience that we had, because we had an entire speaker experience that was going on too. We took the speakers to the Lakers-Warriors game in the largest suite in Crypto Arena on day one. We had them connecting with each other. There are people who are collaborating now because of that. So many details, so much that could have just not happened. And in fact, to tell you the truth, this is something I haven't said at all. I have not said this publicly until now. 6 weeks before the event, I thought I might have to postpone it because there were some pieces of it that were not coming together the way they needed to. And I filmed a video, actually, to explain what was going on. And I'll tell the story one day, but through a series of events and through our amazing sponsors, you all buying tickets, and Holly Anderson Laveau. Let's say that again, Holly Anderson Laveau, who is the GOAT as far as I'm concerned. She is backed Backstage Capital, Higher Runner, Backstage Catalyst. I'm gifting Yacht Water to her because she's just amazing. And then this event. The event would not have taken place if Holly had not been a part of it for the past nearly a year. I'll put that there. But I have to tell you, today I heard someone who is very, very successful, extremely successful. He said his life is messy. It doesn't seem like it is to the naked eye, but it is messy. And it just really resonated with me because it's never what you think, right? I had a lot of people who had, some opinions about the event and wanted me to listen to their kind of negative feedback. A few people, not most, but just a few. And I thought, okay, I certainly can, because I talked to you in another video about taking feedback and using the data positively. But I thought, I just never have seen you do something like this. So why would I take your negative feedback to heart if you have never done this? I'll tell you, the people who had the most positive to say were the people who got something from this event, which is mostly everybody. And then people like Rachel Rogers, people like Lamar Tyler, who put on these major events every year, and they know what goes into it. And they understand what goes into a year one. Gary Vee, another person who had great things to say. To be able to say what we did, to see what we did in those 3 days, in a year one, you can have your opinion. We're certainly taking, note of certain things, but ultimately this is just a note for anybody out there who has tried something big, and there's some haters and there's some not. Think about the source and listen to the people who are filling the cup, who are giving you your flowers, because sometimes you'll have 100 people say something amazing, which is what's happening. You'll have one person say something negative and you'll just hone in on that negativity. I just want you to learn that and take that away.